I was doing national service in Poland when the war broke out in '39, and from Poland, after Poland was conquered by the Russians and the Germans together. See, war broke out on the 1st of September. So the Germans invaded. On the 17th of September, the Russians invaded as well. So the war was finished by the 4th of October. And I went to Hungary from Poland, and from Poland I went to France. There was a Polish unit, motorized unit, established in France, in Coquetin. Bloody French capitulated themselves. And there I was. I came on in there, and there I was. So they wanted to intern us, but we, one way or another, told them that we had no business, or that we were not going to surrender. So I went from France to Algiers, and from Algiers to Egypt, where the Polish Carpathian Brigade was formed. Well, really, it was formed in Syria, but when the Syrians became also supporting the Vichy government, the Poles left it and came to Palestine, to Latrun. When they decided that the Australian government wanted the Aussies back to Australia, well, he said, who are we going to send in there? We got nobody spare. He said, let's send the Poles. So that's how we went. You take it this way, 6,400 Poles went to Tobruk. Now, do you know that the supply of those things, supply of food, ammunition, all that, it was coming by at night by boats. But there was no shortage of things. As I said, there could have been more drinking water. But apart from that, you know. Oh, bully beef, bully beef and biscuits. Yeah, I don't think that we were really hungry. I mean, sometimes the food didn't arrive on time, but it did arrive. And I don't think you had time to think about food too much. We inherited that from the Australians, that the no man land between the Germans or the Italians and us, that we had to control that, and we did. And that, I think, what saved Tobruk, you know, that we knew more about the in-between land, you know, no man's land, than they did. Sometime during the day you establish where there was, you know, a machine gun or something like that. And that night you try to go and get him. And sometimes we succeeded, sometimes we didn't. Daily run, sort of, every day, the same sort of a thing, you know. And I told you, my wife asked me, she said, how did you bathe? I said, oh, every 10 days. Oh, she said, you must have stunk. No, I said, we thought that it was normal that Tobruk stunk like that. And she said, well, how did you wash? I said, oh, when we were off the red line, I said, we go into the sea and have a swim. And she said, then did you have bathers? I said, oh, God. What's wrong with skinny dip? During the silent, we took some Germans, POWs, 3 or 4, you know, and you have to be very careful, you know. People are sometimes very, not frightened, but they say, bloody Germans killed them, sort of. You don't do that, because an hour later we were their POWs. You know, in 1 hour, well, perhaps in 2 hours, that post where I was in changed hands 3 times. Eventually, the Germans did become our prisoners, but I'm glad that there was nobody bloody shot of them, because we wouldn't have survived it either. So there you are, you know. That's how life goes. Well, that we did as well as the Aussies did, or we think we did as well as the Aussies did. we hang on to the Tobruk until the breakout came in, and after the break came on the 8th of December, we chased Rommel back to Gazala, and we feel that we did, well, we personally feel that we did a good job.
I think you did. And can you tell me a bit about the breakout? What happens there?
Well, during the breakout, that was a very hair-raising job. Yeah. We could hear that because the Germans were in a position in there, they had the machine gun set that way that we couldn't bloody move forward or backwards. And we could hear the Australian, Kiwis mostly, we knew that there was Kiwis, and after the third day, I think, it lasted for 3 days, and on the third day we succeeded to join hands with the Kiwis and the Australians as well. I don't know which unit it was of Australians, but yeah, and we chased the Rommel and his lot about 180 kilometers, and then we were withdrawn from the front. Yeah, and we didn't take part until the invasion of Italy. There was about 50,000 Poles during the invasion of Italy. So we went to Napoli, Porto San Giorgio, Ancona, and of course you have heard of the Battle of Monte Cassino. Well, that was one of the Polish bigger contributions, and of course biggest losses too. After that, I was withdrawn from Italy. I went to Poland, to England, to instruct the armor brigade on the armor war and invasion of Europe. Yeah, so we then were, the Polish armor brigade took part on the D-Day +5. We went to beach, beach, Sword Beach, yeah. And there were already Canadians and Australians. Montgomery, of course, was commanding that. Yeah, then after that, I proceeded, in through as far as Holland, to a place called Bardia in Holland. And the war finished when we were in Bardia. The army teaches you many things, and I think that you use many of those things it teaches you control of your people that are working under you. You can't bully people to do things, you have to lead them. I found that, that was a lot easier, and that you had a lot more respect if you led the people. Doesn't matter how bloody frightened you were. I mean, the heroes are this way, in my opinion. You are a hero, you look in there and somebody your mate. I said, you rotten bastard, you shot my mate, and you jump out and shoot him if you can, or he shoot you. And that's one of the heroic things that you do. Or otherwise you said, well, I think I got a chance. And that's two heroes. One under the spur of a moment, revenge, and the other calculated revenge. Calculated one is better. We thought that we will go back to Poland. We didn't know that the communists took Poland and started the horrible repressions and deportation of Poles to Russia and all that, and especially those Poles, that the number of Poles returned to Poland from England, and they disappeared. Some came back, 2 or 3 escaped, but I was very grateful. Well, I got a letter from my mother. She said, finish your study before you come back to Poland. I wasn't studying anything, and she knew it very well. So what it meant, don't come back. So I didn't, and I'm grateful that I didn't. Otherwise, I most probably finished digging salt in Ural somewhere. Yes, and that's how we came The Australian government extended the privilege of the Poles to come, because they were the Reds of Tobruk, and here we came. See, I left Poland in 1939. By the time the 1950 came in, when I sort of was here in Australia, I didn't want to go back to Poland. I established, and another thing was this: I was an Aussie girl. What would I do with her? And another thing is, I didn't know where I would start in Poland. Well, put it this way: having the communists taken Poland, I would have returned to Poland, because we had some land, not a great deal, but sufficient to keep us well economically. So I most probably would have gone to Poland. Yes, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I really didn't. Oh, great deal. A very great deal. It means, that it means that we did well, that we contributed to the defeat of the Nazi supremacy, or their self-imposed supremacy. Oh yes, to me it means a great deal. I am real proud to be a Red of Tobruk.